Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of World Sports Daily. Jim Williams along with Sean Miller. Sean, big weekend this past weekend, a lot of soccer being played, and Manchester United marks up another win.
Yeah, huge win for United. Under some adverse circumstances there, and everybody else lost around them. Manchester City lost, and Liverpool lost, and some of these other teams didn't play well. And then today, the fantastic news about the Premier League throwing the book at Manchester City for their 10 years of cheating. Great day
Took a
to be.
while.
Yeah, 5 years. 5 years. They were studying this, and they breached they hundred offenses over 9 years right now. So Manchester City is in a lot of trouble at this point. Everyone always knew it. I mean, I think that's why nobody really cares if Manchester City wins anything, because everybody knew they're cheating the whole time. So, it was just better that they beat Liverpool those times, because nobody cares about Manchester City anyway. So great times. And then it's also the anniversary of the Munich air disaster. So, tough day for Manchester United fans, but brightened up a little bit by the news that hopefully City will be in the National League soon.
In the sin bin, yes. The other part of the equation this weekend that was interesting on that was that little team that we keep an eye on too, and that's Brighton. They came away with a win.
Yeah, just snuck a win in the final minutes. Matoma, the guy's been unbelievable. They're up in 6th right now. Brentford also won. Right now, you got Arsenal, City, United. Manchester United's only 3 points behind Manchester City, which is ridiculous. Newcastle 4th. Tottenham's only 1 point behind Newcastle right now. So these draws, Newcastle United keeps draw. They only have 1 loss, but they only have 10 wins. So you can't. These 1 point, they might end up being big at the end of the season, but the fact that you can, Tottenham just beat City 1-0. That's 3 huge points that maybe they weren't expecting. Although that's the 5th straight time they've kept a clean sheet against Manchester City in London. But Brighton now is and they're only on 20 games. They're two matches behind Tottenham and 5 points. So 1 match behind Newcastle and only 6 points back. So Brighton and Brentford right now are just huge stories. I think the other huge stories are below them. Chelsea and Liverpool. Chelsea spent 600 million pounds so far this year. They're going to be the next ones looked at by this financial fair play at some point, you'd think. But all this money, and they look terrible on Friday. So they're still languishing there in 9th place. 10 points behind Newcastle, who's in 4th, 12 points behind Manchester United on the same amount of matches. Liverpool is on 29 points. They're in 10th. They were awful against Wolves. Awful. 3-0. And I think, at the other end of the table, because, people are really just focused on the top now.
Right.
The bottom half of the table now is getting to be maybe even more interesting, because now Nottingham Forest, all of a sudden you look up, they're on 24 points. They're in 13th, and they're, basically, 5 points behind a top 10, the top half of the table spot. They signed all these players. Keylor Navas had a huge shutout. So they're doing well. Leicester with a big win over Aston Villa. They're kind of creeping up the table, but from 14th to 19th here, separated by 4 points, and Leeds in a lot of trouble now. Leeds has to play Manchester United twice in 5 days, Wednesday and Sunday. Wolves Wolves starting to play better with their new manager. West Ham's in a little bit of trouble. Everton's still in it, but huge win over Arsenal on the weekend. I think you can kind of see, Southampton's about to fire their manager because that was a pretty crazy press conference he gave. But yeah, looking at the table, to me it looks like it's going to be Leeds, Bournemouth, and Southampton that go down. Everton probably stays safe now with Sean Dyche. West Ham probably stays safe because they're just better than those other teams. Leicester probably stays safe, and Wolves. So be interesting though. A lot of games left to play. I mean, basically half the season still left.
Who's coming up to take their place?
Burnley, 100%. Like that's basically
That's a lot.
Yeah, when you look at the table here, Burnley is on 65 points through 29 matches. So Burnley has a 17-point lead back to third place Middlesbrough with a game in hand. So if they win the game in hand, it'll be 20 points with 16 matches to go. There's no way they're gonna get that. Yeah. Burnley's only got 2 losses this whole year. Sheffield United is 10 points ahead of Middlesbrough with a match in hand. It's going to be Burnley and Sheffield United, and then from that point back, Middlesbrough, Luton, Watford, West Brom occupy the playoff spots, but Millwall, Blackburn, Sunderland, Norwich City, Preston North End, and Hull City all the way down to 12th are within 4 points. Back down to 10th, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are either 1 or 2 points back of a playoff, so 1 win there. And some of them, Blackburn has 2 games in hand. A lot of them have games in hand on Watford and stuff. So the championship race is crazy. I mean, if like you talk about it on Twitter sometimes, it's almost like the most pure league of all because they're just fighting to get to the richest league in the world, and these games are just, every game is like so competitive.
Slug it out,
yeah, it's so competitive.
PSG snuck by Toulouse over the weekend. That was an uneventful game, but it was a win for PSG.
Yeah, they just have to figure out. They're because that league. It's the same thing. When you start going to these other leagues here, PSG now is 8 clear of Marseille, so they've actually righted the ship a little bit. Lens, who won that game when we came back, now 8 points back. So the real drama here is, in Europe right now is, in the Spain now, Barcelona has an 8-point lead because Real Madrid lost on the weekend to Mallorca. Real Madrid's really, really banged up, and they're going to go to the club. They're at the Club World Cup now. They'll play Wednesday, I believe. Really, really banged up. A lot of players didn't go, but Italy. Napoli is starting to run away with that. They're 13 points clear of Inter now, who's in second, and Amedeus is AC Milan is all the way back at 6th now. So they're starting to fall apart a little bit, at the wrong time because they have the Champions League coming up, and then in Germany. It's amazing, and a team other than Bayern Munich was at the top of the table going into Sunday. Union Berlin was first, and now Bayern Munich won 4-2. But they're only 1 point clear of Union Berlin, and Borussia Dortmund all of a sudden is now only 3 points behind. So Leipzig back down to 4th. So Leipzig was kind of battling with them, and then all of a sudden you lose a game on the weekend, or you draw to Cologne, and all of a sudden you're back. So that race is going to be really interesting. I don't think anyone expects anyone other than Bayern Munich will win it, but maybe this is the year they don't win it. They've won every title since 2013. So
that's amazing. Let's talk for a second about the deals with where you're going to be this week. There's some you're headed to Europe and European. I hasten to say your European vacation. Your European workload
Yeah.
begins, and you've got some pretty amazing stops along the way.
Yeah, so I'll be in London first, and I'm gonna try to hit that Chelsea West Ham game. I mean, there's tickets available. I'm actually staying like pretty close to the match. It's the early game, so it's 12:30 on Saturday. I just have to see like what the deal is with the conference that day, going to the gaming conference, affiliate conference. But if I'll be able to go to that. Maybe Sunday I'm going to go to Leeds, Manchester United. Thursday, Barcelona, Manchester United in Barcelona. Sunday, Manchester United, Leicester in Manchester. I have to look at the fixtures there because there might be some other matches coming up that I might be able to get to. Yeah, it's sometimes Saturday.
Sunday you'll have your
Everton plays Leeds. I mean, Everton's pretty close. You could probably be able to get a ticket to that. So
Sunday, your game should be over by the time the Super Bowl starts.
Yeah, I'm on the train. The game's early, so it's 9 o'clock here, so it's 2 o'clock there. I think I'm on a 6 o'clock train back to London, so the game won't start till 11:30 at night there. So I should have plenty of time to
rest up.
Yeah. So that would be pretty cool. But yeah, try to get to some other games, and then of course the Carabao Cup final. Maybe on Saturday, I'll be in Manchester for a lot of the day, and then I'll take the train down. So it should be a decent day.
A very busy one. Yesterday, it's kind of the way things work. It's it's Sunday. Both teams landed in Phoenix yesterday, and they'll practice likely. The way it works, schedule-wise, is they will do media on Monday, today and tomorrow. They will then on Wednesday go to wherever they're going to practice, and they'll just go ahead and begin that process. And so, excuse me there for a second. Once they get there on Wednesday, they don't come back out until the game is played. And so here we are in Phoenix, and one of the worst, I gotta say, the media day is probably one of the stupidest things that happens. I mean, you got guys in little booths, and you walk up to them, you ask them questions. People who have no idea what's going on are there, and so it is a bit of a circus, to say the least. And I honestly think that what they should do is hold a press conference with 2 or 3 guys and just let it go, because the media day is just a total wreck.
Yeah, it's the 2-week thing is ridiculous. I think it's I know why they do it and stuff. It's it's the biggest league in the world and all this stuff. But yeah, I mean it is at this point now. It's just you don't need 2 weeks to do this stuff. I mean it's
actually that week between is actually it's a business week. I mean, it's a league week is what I should say. Let's say, Philly wins their game, again, makes it to the championship. Kansas City wins their game. Everybody's going to the Super Bowl. But what is necessary for the league is to take care of their sponsors and everybody else. And so that week literally is, where do we put, the guys from Gillette? Where do we put the guys from Budweiser? Where do we put the fans that are coming from here, there, and the other? And so they use it because, as we know, there's been years when they didn't have it. They skipped it and went right to the and by the way, the games that were played, in that without that week, in the middle, have always been the most competitive. So, I don't know.
These players are used to the schedules, like they're used to schedules, and all of a sudden you get to the biggest game of the season and you just blow that whole schedule apart. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like I think you just I know once again 100 reasons why they do it, but I don't know, like this. The Pro Bowl is a joke now and all this stuff. It just seems like a waste of time here. I know they have to, they need to get them, ready or something like this. I don't know if they're going to do this. I just don't think you need to do. There's really no other way to do it because you got to get them prepared logistically and all this stuff. I mean, whatever. I mean, they've already had all this stuff booked,
right,
months in advance.
It didn't matter. Yeah, it didn't matter who won. The hotels were booked.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of filling in the blanks as to who gets.
Yeah, and it's this week it's brutal. I mean, you hear, like once again, I never understand why anyone listens to me talk about my football or whatever. But like, I mean, there's it's a 24-hour news cycle now, and they just have to like fill it, and you just get this like people are giving out these like nonsensical takes so they get like traction and all this stuff because that's the way it is now. I mean that you have to
you have to have a hot take on something.
You have to stand out. It's so I don't know. I just wish they'd just play the game.
Yeah. I assume the players wish the same. It's one of the things that I talked to John Lynch, who was with the Buccaneers now, the general manager of the 49ers. John was saying that the biggest problem is that week you're getting hyped up. Then you get to the venue and you get even more hyped up. And then when you get to the stadium on game day and you run out the tunnel, he goes, you are literally hyperventilating because you have built this up in your mind for so long that here you are on that stage and you basically don't want to screw up. And so this is the first quarter of most Super Bowls are probably the least, I guess polished would be a better way of putting it.
Yeah.
Because they've been practicing. They played 18 games. So it's not like they need, extra practice. What they need is to get the game over. And to your point, 1 week would be fine. But that ain't going to happen anytime soon. That's for darn sure. And then the league, of course, is going to have the Super Bowl in Vegas next year. So 3 years in a row, they're on the coast. So that's it's an interesting way to do it. The line, I don't know if the line's not going to change much. I don't see it changing much.
I think the line's going to be the line. I think it's settled in right now at 1.5 for the Eagles. It's not going to go up to 3, and it's not going to go down to pick. So it's going to be right around where it is. Maybe it goes up to 2, maybe it goes down to 1, but it's going to be around there at some point.
Yeah, unless somebody hears something about what happened in their practice that pushes things. Or I think Max is going to keep his money in Houston. I don't think he's flying to Vegas to make any huge bets, but we'll see how that plays out. Let me ask you a question on the on Super Bowl props that have some of the most bizarre props. As someone who understands the gaming business, is it even worth looking at?
I mean, there's some, I think, but we talked about this on ESPN over the weekend with Joe Wiz, and the problem is, you go to these games, you're at a Super Bowl. I'm actually glad I'm going to be away. Go to these parties, and everybody's betting on this coin toss and how long Rihanna's
halftime is going to be.
what's the first song Rihanna's going to sing? Umbrella, because you can bet on what song's going to be first. And somebody knows that. Like, that's the thing. Like, somebody actually knows.
They got the play sheet.
Yes. So, it's a little bit insider stuff, but like, what color the Gatorade's going to be? All this stuff. And, the coin flip at least is heads, tails, or like who wins the coin flip. The Chiefs, that's like 50-50. But like, when you start to do this is – people go crazy, and it's the same thing during the NCAA basketball tournament. Oh man, there's 32 games on Thursday and Friday. I mean, the craziest thing about the NCAA basketball tournament to me is that 75% of the tournament is like done in 72 hours. By the time you get to Sunday night, 48 teams are really, because there's 50 teams are out. There's only 16 teams left. So, 52, I guess, or what do they start with? 68, right?
They start with 68, and then they go to, but that gets very down
to 16 time. So, I mean, 75% of the tournament is over by Sunday. So, it's people are like, oh, I'm gonna bet, 7. I'm gonna bet the 12 o'clock. That should no, like it's the same thing with this. People are like putting crazy prop bets in and player props, like. I mean, I'm a huge just find do it like a regular game. Like people are doing it to like, oh man, I'm just having fun. Like I don't find losing money fun, to be honest. So like I'm trying to win my bets when I put bets in. Like I'm not placing bets for fun. I'm trying to win my bets. So like, I'm gonna bet. I'm gonna bet on the Eagles team total, and I'm focused on like 3 or 4 wagers, and then probably go down to like 2, the Eagles team total or money line. I mean, I think the Eagles are going to win. So like, maybe I would say whatever, late in the week, maybe if somebody gets hurt, maybe I change my position, but maybe throw a couple bucks on Hassan Reddick at plus 3,000, but to be MVP. But people get so the boxes. They're spending like hundreds of dollars on these Super Bowl boxes. Like you have, like,
are you crazy?
Yeah, but like,
I mean, I remember World Series boxes. And
it's just like, yeah. And it's just like, look, I mean,
like a dart hit the board.
Throw $100 on the lottery every night. Like you can't do that. Like you have to. I mean, you could do what you want, but like I'm always saying, like, look, I mean, you got to be, and Joe Wiz will say the same thing. Like, you got to be, trying to win, trying to increase your bankroll. I mean, I try to stay away from most of those prop bets. I mean, they're like sucker bets. Like you see, they're pretty good. Wow, game props. Like, oh, who's gonna?
I saw one. This gives you an idea how nuts things get. How will Travis Kelce get tackled by Jason Kelce?
Yeah.
And you're sitting there going, that's pretty tough because
Jason's
a center. So unless they they're down to their 4th string, the nose tackle, he's not going to play defense.
Any ruling on the field overturned by a coach's challenge? Yes or no? Like, look, I mean, it's just
how many times they turn the red flag
people to bet, and you just like, I just like once again Super Bowl, blah, it's a Super Bowl, but like as as someone who makes picks and all this stuff, like to be honest, I just want the game to be over. Because like it's too much. There's too much around it. People are asking should I do this? And I'm like, look, I don't know, man. There's so many different things that could. When you're betting player prop,
variables there.
If a player gets hurt, your prop is like it's over. I mean, these other things, like I mean, it could happen in any game. Like when you're betting, I think the Eagles are better than the Chiefs as a whole. I'm not, if, I don't know, one of their running backs, Miles Sanders, gets hurt, they got 4 other running backs that can do the job. I mean, they showed that in the playoffs. So, like, it's not a big deal. But if I'm betting Miles Sanders over whatever and he gets hurt in the first 5 plays, my bet is done. So I always just
think Super Bowl Sunday's over.
it's the same thing with like betting on goal scorers sometimes in soccer. Like, if I think Fulham is going to win 2-1, Mitrovic will score, but, if, the bet the other day was Fulham or draw was plus money against Chelsea. And, that was my favorite. Yeah, yes, I thought Mitrovic was going to score, but there was no score in the game. So, like, if you just bet that, but it's just there's so much stuff that can go around it and can go wrong with all these other things. That's just the way I think. I mean, I know people do it, and there's like people that study these props and blah blah blah. But the other thing is, anybody telling you something on like Twitter is never showing you the 100 bets they lose. They're only showing you the ones. I mean, I do it. Like, I post my parlay wins on there sometimes. I'm like, wow, I hit for $400. I didn't post the other 6 that I lost, so it is what it is.
Well, I think too, the most important thing is to bet responsibly.
Foxy here, Fox. Yeah, it's shocking that you get a 3-game ban for grabbing somebody's shirt collar. That's an absolute joke. And IU was choking Fred on the same play, but it is what it is. We'll be all right. Now he gets rested for that. For the Barcelona matches and for the finals. So plus we're in third now, and we're about to be in second after City gets sent to the Conference League South or wherever they're going to send them to. Yeah, but look, I mean, they're talking about this. They're hyping up this flag football. And stuff, and I'm just like, look, I
stop it.
Like, I can't, if I was a player, I understand, like, maybe you get bonuses for being that stuff and all this stuff, but like, just name the team. Like, look, you're a Pro Bowler. Okay, cool. Like, I don't need to go. Like, 60,000 people went to that game, and it's just like, but why? I just like why?
Yeah.
The NHL. That skills competition over the weekend. You got people throwing sticks at break. I mean, it's just like, just give them a week off. Like, these players 100% would enjoy a week off to rest up.
Yeah.
Rather than going to all this stuff. The season's over. Like, these guys just played a brutal football is brutal. They just played a whole season. Just let them go home to their families. There's no break anyway. You got off-season conditioning and all this stuff. Let them have a couple months off. But it's just like a whole business. It's just crazy.
Chill them out a little bit. I yesterday spoke to my mother, who informed me that my brother had just brought home a box of Eagles Super Bowl shirts. So everybody will have an Eagles Super Bowl shirt this week in Philadelphia. So, yeah, the town is ready. You're there. That they're excited.
Yeah, everybody's got an Eagles shirt on.
We're going to have Scott Steen later in the week, who is in Kansas City. And it'll be interesting to see what he thinks. About time. Let me see what that was.
Just Foxy. Listen, I'll tell you 100%.
Oh, I see what you said. Okay.
No chance that Manchester United. They make more money than they know what to do with. These guys are bringing in money from noodle sponsors in Mongolia, and they have sponsors in
everywhere.
Country, every single country. It's just they have no chance of being Chelsea. Maybe, who knows? But we'll see.
Okay, but now
we know Newcastle's not getting. We know Newcastle's not getting investigated because that guy actually didn't want to spend. He didn't want to spend a dime for about 20 years. So you guys should be safe.
So the penalty is what?
Well, I mean, they got banned from Europe for 2 years, and then the Court of Arbitration.
Banned from European competition, right?
Yes, the Court of
Arbitration. They didn't get
Arbitration.
relegated or anything like that. So.
Well, no, that was for Europe. That was UEFA. But Court of Arbitration for Sport overturned that. But the Court of Arbitration for Sport can't get involved in this. So if the Premier League says we're taking away your titles, and Manchester United has 2 more titles, which could happen. So then we'd have 22, and then they ban them they ban them from the league. I mean, Juventus got sent down to Serie C, so I don't know where you put them. But look, it was 100 offenses. I mean, they're paying people from secret slush funds and all this stuff, and car dealers. I mean, it's dodgy stuff. I mean, they clearly, that's not even including the stuff that like everyone knew. I mean, they're just, their sponsors are like the country that owns them sponsors the team. So it's just like, it's super dodgy. But also, my guy Carl on Twitter made a good point. Now, there's going to be, if they get found guilty, there's going to be some lawsuits from some of these teams that got knocked out like Tottenham, Manchester United, Newcastle. I can remember Newcastle finished fifth the 1 year, I think, under Alan Pardew. If City isn't cheating, Newcastle is in the Champions League. So maybe Newcastle goes after them. There's going to be some, if they're found guilty, which, obviously they've already been found guilty once by UEFA, it was overturned. But they still had to pay a fine of 10 million euros. So the transfer ban was overturned. They weren't found not guilty.
So it is what it is.
Look, realistically, they should be a huge fine and relegate them. Not sure the Prem will do that. Maybe a big point reduction, but City will have enough to stay up. I mean,
they're not going to relegate them.
They could. Look, they did it to Juventus. Juventus, they sent them to Serie C, and they stripped all their titles. That's the other thing. They stripped the titles away. So, and this might be a bigger case. I mean, but once again, Foxy, I don't know if you saw my tweet, but this is why, and I opened with this. This is why nobody, I was never bothered that City was winning. People were the first one when they won it on, in the last, that match fixing with Joey Barton sent off. That bothered me. But then from then on, it was just it's everybody in the world knew they were doing it, cheating. And look, the Premier League, it took 5 years to bring this case. They've been building this case for 5 years. When you talk about RICO cases, when if you ever saw the case against John Gotti when they lost the first two, they took forever for the next one. They airtight. They knew by the next time they brought a case, they're like, listen, there's no way we're losing. So, in 5 years, all these things, something is going to happen. Points deduction, which is fine because they won't be in Europe. So they better win they better win the Champions League this year. All this stuff. Loss of, look, they could relegate them. Be great for the championship. I don't know where you relegate them to. I mean, imagine Kevin De Bruyne playing in League Two. Then they could have a great derby match against Stockport. But it's going to be a huge deal over the next, couple weeks because, remember they got, they're playing Arsenal on the 4th. They haven't played Arsenal yet. So they got that Arsenal match on the 15th. They have, it's crazy stuff, Foxy. That was a massive earthquake and stuff. And it's a crazy place right in the middle of those tectonic plates. I mean, there's always huge earthquakes over there. Hopefully he's okay. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming out, about this in the next couple weeks. So as City gets ready to play in the Champions League, and maybe Pep says Guardiola said that if this stuff is found to be true, he's walking. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see what he does. I'm sure he won't, but we'll see.
We Wallet Hub every year puts out a stat sheet on the Super Bowl with some numbers. And the worst, they have the best 10 and the worst 10 cities for NFL football. Care to guess who's number one on the best?
Best cities?
Yep. They follow it the most passionately, according to Wallet Hub, which basically, Wallet Hub just tracks money. Who spends money on watching the games, going to the games, merch, the whole 10 yards.
I would say Philadelphia or Seattle.
Well, you're close on one. It's Pittsburgh, so you're in the same state.
Okay.
Followed by Green Bay, followed by Dallas, followed by New England, followed by the Rams. I assume New York means both New York teams. Didn't say. Miami, Cincinnati, New Orleans, K-State. The worst cities, now this, I mean, these aren't even, Boulder, Colorado, lovely town. Davidson, North Carolina, okay. Columbia, South Carolina. Knoxville, Waco, Lawrence, Kansas, Louisville, Kentucky, Fort Collins, Colorado, Easton, Massachusetts, and Valparaiso, Indiana.
Those are all college towns.
Yeah, that's what it's
like. Yeah, like you'd think, probably local. They'll support their local college team and stuff instead of.
But why watch the? It's just crazy. It's totally crazy from that standpoint, and we do what we can do. Hang on a second. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. There's this misconception that a Super Bowl brings money into a town. It doesn't. It just doesn't. I mean,
yeah. I mean,
does a mom and pop get something happen? Yeah, for sure, but not to the great extent that they feel or think, right?
Yeah, like the hotels and stuff, but how long are the fans aren't coming out for a week?
They're not going to be there for a week.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think that sometimes that's why Qatar didn't get the World Cup to make money. Like they don't, the Olympics always lose money wherever they're at. I mean, to the point now where cities are backing out because you have to spend all this money, and people know it's like.
Well, here's one for a place that you're very familiar with. Okay, the Olympics when they were in London for that summer, the city of London lost money. Had they not even come at all, had they not brought the Olympics to London, the tourism bureau for London said they would have probably cleared $500 million in tourism money, but they didn't get that tourism money because people didn't want to go into the city when the Olympics are being played.
Well, I'll tell you, I remember this vividly. I went to this third time I went back to Europe. My second trip over, I went in 2011 to see. I went to the Europa League final in Dublin. The two Portuguese teams, Porto beat Braga 1-0. I went to Manchester United, see them win number 19. But I went the second time on Christmas night, and I stayed until the middle of January, and I ended up winning like $2,500 betting on parlays and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back, and I flew into Heathrow, and what a disaster that was. They were already getting their stuff. I was at the passport control for like 2.5 hours. I missed my train. I had to sleep in the Heathrow, and it was such a mess. Like. I just remember that. But I mean, look, I go to the West Ham Stadium, which is, the Olympic Stadium now. So they have that, they have that nice stadium to play in. And, they built a lot of flats for people. The Olympic Village is now, flats for a lot of people to live in, cheap housing and stuff. So, I mean, that's pretty cool.
Well, that part worked.
So a lot of that stuff they rebuilt and, they made. So I think, it upgrades the city and everything, but, it doesn't. It's not really for, there's not a lot of tourists go to these things.
By the way, Foxy, we share your good wishes on hoping that everybody is well from the earthquake. That's a terrible situation to be sure. So we're on your side on this and hope that everybody comes out the other side well. Um, it's gonna be tough, but hopefully they'll come out well. All right, so let's see. We talked about a little bit about Super Bowl. We talked a lot about the soccer over the weekend. Um, Coming attractions, Sean. What's anything today that we should be looking at?
Let's see what we got today. On the football side of things. Let's go to today. Rayo Vallecano and Almeria. I don't think it's a huge. Well, obviously, all the Turkish matches are postponed. Yeah, Foxy. I went to that game. It was in Dublin. It was crazy because the Queen was there as well. There was the Queen's first visit to Ireland in like forever. So I have a picture somewhere of the Queen waving to me from her Range Rover, and she was wearing it. It was pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Porto team, that was a pretty good game. Falcao scored, I think, in the 8th minute. But that was my first European final I've been to, so it was really cool. I was hanging out. I mean, it was all Porto. I mean, there were some Braga fans there as well, but so speaking of the Premier League, Rio Ave Sporting, not a huge day today. I don't even know if Cluj isn't even playing today. There's still a lot of friendlies, and I don't even think there's a couple things in Brazil, not much. Some of the smaller things, the smaller tournaments and stuff, but not a great day for soccer. Tomorrow's the FA Cup replays and the first semifinal of the FIFA Club World Cup. Flamengo is going to play Al Hilal. And then you got the cup matches and stuff like that. Wednesday is huge. Leeds and United, and Al Ahly plays Real Madrid. Sunderland Fulham in the FA Cup could be interesting. DFB Cup, Coupe de France. There's going to be a bunch of matches, and including the big one, number 1 versus number 2. So you got a quarter. This is a round of 16 match, and you got Marseille playing PSG. So one of the top 2 teams in the league will be out of the Coupe de France after in the round of 16. So that could be wide open. If Marseille can win that, it's wide open tournament again. And then same thing. So you got a lot of the cup matches going on this week. So it'll be pretty interesting. I haven't bet most of the season, too unpredictable. Yeah, Foxy, that you look at that Real Madrid. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, they're not taking half their team they're just so banged up right now. I mean, I think for them at this point, probably, the title is probably gone. I think Barcelona, really, once again, I mean, Barcelona or Manchester United, I think either team would be best served to be out of the Europa League and just kind of focus on the league. But we'll see what happens. But so there's a few games. Verona plays Lazio, Monza plays Sampdoria, Blackburn plays Wigan at 3. So there's a couple of things going on today, but not a lot of action. So
Well, sometimes it's good to just take a day off.
Yeah, there's always you could always kind of watch. There's always something to watch.
That's true. That's absolutely 100% true. All right, boys and girls. I think we'll wrap this puppy up for today. And we will be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. And a lot more soccer to talk about tomorrow as things get ramped up here. And we'll also throw in some Super Bowl stuff along the way. So until tomorrow, for Sean, I'm Jim. Take care, everybody. Enjoy it. Have a good day.